All right, hey, thanks for tuning in for this stream. I'm gonna be back on some simplytest.me development. Where I left off last time, cannot entirely remember, but I know we're going to, one of the things I want to work on is getting the branches sorted out. So right now, when we go to launch a project, the versions are in a weird sorting order. They're not like not in something that would be really natural for people to go through. It will default to the first version created and just make a list. So the goal, or one thing that I came up with, is to have a latest releases group. So you have the first two, like any major branch, you have those versions available, then the branch development, and then grouped by major version in there. So that's the main goal there. But I know I need to make a deployment and create a script for deployment. Let's see. I think we can actually, maybe I'll try giving this a test right now. Or let me copy this command. And let's see, get remote V. All right, this is the profile. So it gets to be confusing too, because there's the profile and then there's the website, which of course I made sure to rename the project, or I named the project Simply Test Me instead of like website to make it a little bit easier. Let's see. Let's do a new branch for prod PR workflow. There. I guess first let's go back to main. I'm gonna run this command. So this GitHub command makes it real easy to open a pull request. So here I've opened the pull request and it's going to update. It's going to merge prod or main into prod, and that will get us the deployment that we need. What I want to do, check out what I did, prod PR workflow. Oh. Is we can have a script and we can have a workflow. So let's try this out. So workflows, let's do, let's say, let's call it main to prod.yaml. Call it name main to prod. So on, actually it's on, we want a schedule. And if we do this, it should be at like midnight. Oh, I'll just copy. So we go jobs. Let's see. So main to prod, name, create, pull request, runs on Ubuntu latest. We need a name, not services, just steps. We actually don't even need to check out the project. Actually we do, never mind. So the idea is that we'll check out the project and be able to use the GitHub pull request to run let's see, GitHub actions, use GitHub CLI. Oh, let's see. Managing GitHub actions. Here we go. Set up GitHub CLI because it's not installed on there. To do source. All right. Home token not found. Execute GitHub login auth login with token. So I think that's what we need to do. So GitHub auth login with token. And I think we can just pass this value here. So we should be able to log in via GitHub with this and then create a pull request. But let's see. I know one project has something like this. That's PHP stand for issue triage. So I'm real quick going to see workflows, build issue bot. That just builds the issue bot. Run issue bot. Those are install secret issue bot token. That's not it. Shoot, well, that's locked closed issues. Let's see. Lock threads. Run GitHub CLI and GitHub Actions. Manual GitHub Actions. Blah, 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 blah. And it was either work with GitHub Actions, GitHub Run Download. Using GitHub CLI from GitHub Actions. env PR, GitHub Access Token. All right. Enable auto merge for new PRs. Awesome. This is exactly what I was looking for. So the idea is that we have a main branch, which is our development trunk, and then we have a prod branch. So we're not deploying tags, just whenever prod gets a release. So we can run this. So we don't need the GitHub login. Let's give this a name. That's right. It gets all. It gets really weird for some reason in here. Open PR. So we don't need the PR URL. We just need the GitHub token, which maybe we need to have a more elevated token than what's in here, but let's just see what happens. I'm not about to generate a token in here, but let's actually look at GitHub Actions token. Authentication in a workflow, get app token in an actions workflow. GitHub control permissions for GitHub token. Granted the GitHub token secret. Actions generates a new token for each job that expire. The token has write permission to a number of API endpoints, except in the case of pull requests from forks, which always read. That makes sense. New permissions, pull request, read, write, none. Perfect. So I don't think we need to modify this. Let's create a new pull request. Add script. Oh, wait. What we want is... GitHub Actions allow failure. One thing I did notice is that when there is an existing pull request or there's nothing to be updated, it creates an error. So let's try running this command again really quick. I'm not on main. Continue on error. True. So let's say to do find exit codes when PR exists or no changes required. There. We'll just do that. Add workflow to always create deployment PR. So this way, whenever there's changes to be deployed, we get an automated schedule. Now let's go back. Main, pull, and do quick composer install for all of our dependencies. Oh, wait. Where's 701? Your PO. I need to get PHP 7 back on my machine. Actually, why do we I don't think we still need the GitHub API. Where is it still required at? Is this needed? Let's look at client. So before, we were having to fetch stuff from GitHub and do work with GitHub, but we don't have to anymore with the improved Tugboat interface. So let's see. Do a composer install. Need to tell PHP Storm to look at the new version. There. All right, that's updated. Oh, I probably broke the indexing when I changed the PHP level, or when I updated my interpreter. But I'm going to make an issue. Remove dependency, no longer talk to GitHub. Actually, another easy way to look for it is, oh, they literally put it in the namespace of GitHub. Well, that's okay. We can just search simply test for GitHub, which of course is going to show everything inside of a node modules file. Let's do instead of modules, nothing found. All right, let's make a pull request. So remove GitLab, the GitHub API. So before with Tugboat, we had to always make a commit to a repository to trigger a build, but Tugboat added a new API where we can directly post a build config, and that has simplified how the project runs. This dependency is no longer needed, as we do not work with a GitHub backend repo directly anymore. There's still a repo, but like the Simply Test application doesn't need to talk to it, just Tugboat. It also prevents using PHP 8. So let's open that and wait for this to finish indexing. Computer's being a bear and a half today. All right, so I'm going to pop open a issue fork for that to work on it, and also I'm going to open one here. Do a little bit of multitasking. Oh shoot! I'm going to stop and reload, because once you so there's like one quirk with the workflow is once you open a merge request, go through this flow, it's like impossible to get back to the Drupal.org issue. Composer.json. And one day I'm going to remember to, that day is going to be today. I'm going to write down, I don't even have a pen in, because I brought it upstairs. So much for that being what I do today. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to do one thing. I'm just going to post a message in the Drupal Slack. I keep forgetting to post this. I'm not bringing Slack over to the main screen because it's got my some private channels that I'm on. I keep forgetting to post this on stream, which is when I always hit this. Creating issue fork, click branch, leave issue, use web IDE, create changes, no easy way to get back to the original issue from the issue fork without using browser history. All right, there we go. So I just created a quick ping there. I should make an issue in the webmaster queue for Drupal.org or on Drupal.org customizations. But at least I made a note of it somewhere. Actually, I'm going to make it. Gotten to mention this for a month now. Yeah, I've forgotten to do that for like an entire month. All right. Gotta make sure I ignore Slack now and not any messages that come through. Remove GitHub API library. So we'll commit the changes. And so like this is the thing here is like we push to here. And if I click on this link, there is no way for me to easily go back to that issue. Oh, for collaboration. Never mind. Oh, now I see when you click on the project name before repository and breadcrumbs, it has the URL. So we'll create the pull request. And get onto the main business at hand. Just make sure. I'll link this to Adam really quick. All right, so that just removes that. Let's now go to the main thing at hand, which is getting this project version. So I created my issue fork. Let's copy up the commands to add it as a origin to Git. Or not an origin, but a remote. And check out that branch. Oh, stupid NPM. A branch named already exists. Oh, so it created the branch, but I couldn't check it out. All right, so there we go. So the idea is to take the versions list. So here, I'll show what that looks like. So when we go here and we search for like password policy, we get the first release. But then we get like the beta, the RC, and really like you want to see 1.9 first, and even RC should be above the beta. But really you want the 2.0 alpha 8 or see the 8.3. So we're going to try to find like a nice way to group all of that. So luckily we have testing that we can use. We should have, if I go into my kernel test, maybe unit? No. Oh, I don't have tests for this yet. Or controller test. Let's see. Test get core versions. We're doing a request on to the endpoint. So let's see how we can get started. Let's go back to here. So source controller, simply test projects. This has also got a lot of code that still needs cleaning. Autocomplete, project versions. Here we go. Yeah. I don't. What a treat! I get to write them. Yeah, I wrote tests for the core versions, but not project, and I'm actually really upset with myself. I didn't even write a test for compatible project versions. So we're gonna do that now. So we need to get all releases for project, and the idea is that we project version manager get all to do needs test. Way to go, previous me. So let's get that rocking. So let's do a new file. We're gonna call it the project version manager test.php. Gotta love it. So remember, whenever you fail to do something previously, you're just adding debt to your future self. So every shortcut, while it might feel great, and maybe it was necessary at the time because we were just getting stuff done, but every time you delay a piece of work or you take a shortcut, you're just adding debt to your future self. Or worse yet, when you leave a project, you're putting that debt onto somebody else who doesn't know. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, we got to do this. But like, what if it was another contributor that was like, how does this work? And then goes, reads the code and says, to do needs test. Like, thanks, Matt. I don't know how all this works. And there's no test to prove how it works. All right, so final class project version manager test extends. Did I create a base kernel test for myself? Nope. So let's do kernel test base and copy modules statement. We need to do setup. So let's copy this. So one thing that I borrowed from the JSON API folks, and I think specifically it might have been from Gabe, is to use the name SUT, which is subject under test. So anytime you're interacting with an object, that's like the main point of the test, like the class. I've gotten the habit of calling it SUT for subject under test to make it a little bit more clear as to what you're working with. With the 100%, I'll often leave those comments with a paragraph apology, as much details as possible. Usually I do. Usually it's like, to do. Here's why we didn't do it. I definitely have a more lax approach to simply test me right now. Mostly because there's like some contributors to it, but I'm like the primary one right now. So I've taken a more lax, but definitely when it's like client work, or if I'm actually, especially if it's client work, like if I'm contracting with another team as like they're like a senior or like a lead, even like I write like essays in my code because I'm not part of the integral team. I am there as a visitor for a short amount of time. So I make sure that anything that I write that's ambiguous or needs documentation or like comments, I put paragraphs just explaining why this happened, why it works this way, because they may not be able to come tap me on the shoulder, or a junior on their team might come across it that's never worked with me before. So I like to leave little stories in my code, just because I may not be there to answer a question. All right, so setup. Let's start testing these methods. So we should test get all releases, which means we need to actually populate the releases via update data. And I think, can I do this with process release history unit test base? So this creates the mock. That gets the mocked HTTP client. The fetcher. So I have to re-upload in my brain how some of this works. All right, so get the project data, returns the response. So update data string. Okay, we passed the fetcher. So let's do all right, we'll test with path auto. So that's what we have here. Shoot, so actually our subject under test, we don't want to fetch it from the service container entirely. So let's do new project version manager. We'll get the database from the service container, and now I'll explain why we want to do new fetcher, but this requires a guzzle client and the state. But if we look here at fetcher, this modified, oh, it gets a new client, get project data. Oh, this actually goes out and talks to the internet. It's not what I was expecting. So here we do. Here we get the mocked HTTP client. And what this does is it asserts some data that when we get certain URLs, that it will when we get certain things, we can mock our API responses to return these artifacts. 1 second. Hey, buddy. Sorry, this is my son. He broke into my office. Yeah. Hey, I gotta put you outside. Surprisingly, for however many times I've been doing these streams, the youngest one has not broken in the door until today. My office doesn't have a lock on it, and I've been too lazy to get a new doorknob. Thanks. He's cute, but he's, compared to the other two, he's a bigger handful. All right. So what I'm trying to do is I want to import these local data sources into the database. So get project data. This gets the string and checks if it was in the state, and then it gets the HTTP client, which returns it. So maybe we don't need this. So we get the release XML, processor get data, and then we insert it. So I could copy some of this code. I didn't make this entirely testable, I guess. Well, I did. You know, it takes a project, goes in there. I don't want to mock the client all over again, but maybe we can. So client, let's go ahead and client equals this. Prophesize client from guzzle class. So we're going to prophesize, which makes a mock. I always use prophecy for my mocking. I don't use the mock builder inside of PHP unit. Why? Just that's what I've been always worked with. So this container get, and we'll pass the state. So now this is going to error eventually, because it's going to say, hey, we didn't get any returns. But let's just start by trying to get it working. So actually, I guess we should then prime it. So this subject under test, update data for path auto. Right, let me just look at this again. So yeah, for each channel, get the project data. So let's run a test. The first test will be, let's see, I want to update this to say covers default class, project version manager. We're going to test update data. Actually, why don't we just do that? So we'll say public function test update data. And we can then even say that covers update data. So let's cut this out and just run that. It doesn't have any. Let's just run it. We'll see what happens. because once we test that, we can update the data, and that we can fetch the releases. Then we can test, we can add something that like in here, like update data, get release, get all releases, and then like something that formats it. We can test the formatting of it. All right, so get status code on null, because there was no response. So that's where we need to mock this up a bit more, which we did in the unit test. Should have just made this a trait, I suppose. Actually, yep, let's do that. So in Drupal, this isn't exactly a documented thing, but when you have tests, actually let me show you where it's documented. So if we look at the bootstrap.php inside of Drupal core test, this is what is passed to PHP unit to bootstrap the system. We look at trait. So traits have a fancy namespace. Wait, Drupal extension traits namespace for cross test suite code. Well, this document block is incorrect. Let's see. Before let's go there, and let's go to drupal.org project Drupal. Let's see if this is still a bug, because if you read this, you're like, oh, Drupal blah traits, but really it's Drupal tests and then traits. So tests, bootstrap, and documentation matters, not manners. Yep. So let's go create an issue for that. Super nitty, but it's not really documented anywhere else. Bootstrap.php has incorrect comment about test trait namespace. So there's a bug report against 9.3.x. The test. We have test. Is it PHP unit? We'll say PHP unit. Inside of test bootstrap.php, there is code to handle the traits shared across test suites. The code comment has an incorrect namespace. So we got code, say here. The comment states, the comment is missing the test namespace, not part of the extension's root namespace. I have no idea. I don't know what you'd call the difference of those, like a root or a not root. The head document fix namespace in comment. So save it. And this is the one reason that I really like that we have issue forks now, is I can just go through. I don't need to clone Drupal core just to be able to create like a quick fix like this. And yes, I know GitHub, GitLab, they all have had this for a while now. But Drupal.org has a very special issue process. And I do like that we have our own thing. It is nice to offload a bunch of the Git management, I'm sure. But I still really appreciate the things that make Drupal in here. So while that finishes, let's create a trait. So we're going to create source, new directory. We'll call it trait, right? No, traits. It's plural. Let's go rename traits. Let's call it the mocked release. We want to call it the New file. Mocked release HTTP client trait. Sure, we'll do that. So now this namespace is Drupal tests, simply test projects and traits. Got trait. So what I'll do is I will copy the method from the base test and put it into this trait, which this is something that's pretty cool. Let's see. I think somehow PHP Storm will actually, once that trait's used, will infer that it has certain classes and will warn you when it's used differently. There we go. So just to make sure that this ran, let me run this unit test, because that gets the mocked HTTP client. So let's go to core. Whoop. Well, that's great. That test failed. File get contents. Oh, I need to fix the paths. Here we go. All right. So let's rerun that. And let's go to tests. Bootstrap. We'll click edit. All right, so those tests are passing. That's wonderful. And that means that we can now use the trait here. Use mocked HTTP client. And instead of building our own here, we can do this. Get mocked HTTP client. So now if we run this, it should not fail, but we don't have any real assertions going on. Oh, is there on this, if we did a annotation, we see your name on there? I mean, but this is like part of like the whole PHP unit migration from like copy pasted from simply test. Like there's stuff like this all over the place. It's impossible to catch all of it. Like there's one. Let's see. Is this the... Yeah, so I actually have it here because I use it to hold my laptop up. Hopefully I don't just break everything. 8 book that I did. When I went to go do the second edition, the stuff, and it just happens. Which at least here it's just code. It's not in a book. Like I think I had a typo in features. Yeah. So let's make sure I'm even doing this right. Drupal test extension traits. Yep. Add test namespace part. So I'm going to click open merge request. Get that going. Oh, no such table. Simply test project versions. Isn't that what I... Oh, nope. Solved the wrong table. So project version manager, the table name. All right. Now, I feel like I'm getting going. So mark that as needs review. All right. And not has. All right, test it did not perform any assertions. So let's go. One thing that's actually really cool from Laravel that I want to try to contribute is just, it's like should see in database, or it's like is in database. It's something like this, and it's a really easy shortcut to assert that the database has at least one row matching a piece of content in a table. Here he comes again. I'm just going to give up at this point. All right, so let's do, I'm going to copy. So we want to make sure that there's a certain amount of releases. So let's get so database equals this, container, get database. Count, let's just do assert count equals database, select from the project version manager table name, condition, I guess query, because then it always gets, I feel like it gets weird. We do select. If we say query, why isn't this auto completing? Database select, query interface. Who knows? I feel like I always get weird brokenness with this. So let's see. Just copy. It's time to start copying because my brain is not working. So do project manager name, path auto, and let's make it a. Why is this being so ridiculous, not auto-completing anything? So assert query instance of select interface. Thank you. Let's make it a count query. So count equals count query, and we'll do execute, and I think it's like fetch field. So let's do self assert equals. I don't know how many releases there are. I'm just gonna run 10. And assume, I'm sure there's more than 10 based off of everything in here. I'm just gonna trust what comes back, or maybe I probably even have it in here. 18. So at least 18 releases for 8 and 7. All right, we'll say 28. That works for me. So we've tested that. Test update data, puts it in a database, and we get all the releases. So let's test get release, or let's test, let's delete that comment because that's not true. Let's test get all releases. So public function test get all releases. Copy this annotation, but say it covers get all releases. I'm going to close my door real quick. And put on my to-do list to buy a lock for my office door finally. So let's go ahead and we'll do this subject under test, update data, and we'll say path auto again. But now what we'll want to do is releases equal this subject under test, get all releases, path auto, and we can do a self assert count, should be 28 from, ooh, that double added, releases. So let's run this. And this should be the same. Like there should be no reason why it's excluded. Great. One thing we should do is, I guess, yeah, short name. Now let's see if we can now. I wonder if get all releases should do the formatting, if there's another endpoint that should do that. That should perform that function. So let's make a new method. We'll call it public function sort and organize. We'll call it organize and sort releases. And this will take an array of releases. That will return an array itself. Let's put it at the bottom. So the idea here is that we have this version manager handles either putting data in, taking data out, and then formatting it, because we might want to actually just get all the releases raw without formatting them. So that's a good enough test for now. Let's create a test for this, because this is the main thing I wanted to work on today, and I want to try to crank this out before I go on to all my client work for the day. Which one of those involves figuring out the plans for more Drupal Rector contributions as well. So that'll be really exciting. So we've got the releases. Let's then say organized equals this, subject under test, organize and sort releases. And based off of the path auto data, which we need to get one that has semantic versioning in here, I just realized, for a sample feature, but at least we can get this started. So what we need to do, what I need to do is remember how the data comes back. So you can do PHP unit, you can use Xdebug and PHP unit test inside Drupal, but only if you have it always running due to the fact that we run in process isolation. So tests always run in a separate process to help prevent polluting. But when you do that, PHP unit creates a sub child process, and then Xdebug gets lost unless you have Xdebug to always run. A workaround is to just turn that off, but your tests will always fail. But in this case, we don't care if they fail. The main thing is to get here and have a runtime pause so we can just inspect and play around. So I'm going to right click and click debug, and we should end up paused here. Yep, this is the trick I go for. Sometimes if I have like a project that has to run inside of a Docker environment, like so right now my PHP unit is running through SQLite. But when I do my work for CiviCRM in Drupal, CiviCRM only supports MySQL. So when I write all of my web form CiviCRM or CiviCRM entity tests, I'm actually running them inside DDev. So, and not fancy either. Like I'm running them from the command line. I don't have the remote interpreter set up yet because I'm not that motivated to, although I should. So I have DDev Xdebug on, and then that works because it's always running. But on my host, I feel like it's just like I'm getting like hit with random incoming connections. Or if I open my terminal and ZSH tries to get all the composer autocomplete commands. So this is my workaround. In fact, since it's cheap to rerun it, as it takes a minute. It throws warnings that like the state's been modified and the global state doesn't equal something like that. So let's just rerun it. But yeah, that's my trick, is to turn off the process isolation. All right, so releases, and I'm pretty sure the data we get from here is all. Yeah, we've already normalized it a bit. So we can break. So one thing we can do is we can group things by core compatibility as well. Shoot. So this tag the date. So I wonder if get all releases needs to start. Let's start by looking at this table. Because we could sort by date in PHP, but to me, that's wasted CPU time. When the database is more efficient at doing so. We can tell the database to fetch sorted by date, which would give us our latest release, and be more efficient than having it be done in PHP when it's all the server CPU time instead of the database CPU, which could be on the same host, but the database is optimized for this. Oh yeah, convert to int for proper sorting. That's something we need to do. Project, that's core version manager. Table, start name, version, tag, date. Yeah, date. All right, so it's the date table. So let's do not here, get all releases, condition. Did I even put this on? Oh, yeah, so we need to sort the values returned. I thought I tried this with, we may not want to sort just by date, because with date, the dev releases are always on top, but that's where we came up with this other processing. So let's do that. Let's add an order by field, date, descending. Yeah, so we want the bigger number first. I always have to think about that. All right, so that's step one, is we get it back in some kind of sorting. And normally I'd write the test. It's like, oh, organized, and we assert that it has these keys. But I have no idea what I'm doing right now. So I'm just using the test as a shortcut way to execute this code and debug it. I find this easier. Like, some people write a function and then go to their Drupal site and like refresh the page. Or the old school way of the devel module and the /devel/php and execute code. Like that, but this is a lot easier because I don't have my Docker environment running or having to worry about anything else. At least in my opinion, this is easier. Oh, interesting. So we have, by created, we get the dev release first. And then we have 1.7. Oh, we have only the 8.x. Which I guess makes sense if there hasn't been a release to 7.0 in a while. For kicks, let's go to drupal.org, project, path auto. Because the dev release gets updated whenever there's a new commit. And I just want to see if I want to manually make sure this is matching up. Yep. August 2016, 2015. There's been plenty of releases. Okay. So what we need to do is, we got to do some kind of grouping. So maybe we'll group by core compatibility. We'll start there. So core compatibilities equals an array. Let's just do a for each releases as release. Yeah. So let's see. So if not is set, releases are released. Oh, but this core compatibility could change too. Oh, so that's the other part, is the core compatibility could be the new school or the old school. We'll deal with that as we go. All right, we'll deal with that over time. So if is, let's get the, instead of going into weeds and over engineering it, the first start is like, let's just get it organized and then improve the organization. So we'll call it the compatibility equals release core compatibility. One second, I want to see if I did not. I was seeing if I made a value object before for some of the sorting. I think it went down that road before, but it just made things way more complicated. So if is set core compatibilities compatibility. So if it doesn't exist, core compatibilities, compatibility equals an array. So this way we prime that array, and then we'll do a, so core compatibilities, compatibility, and this release. So let's just restart there. Let's see, and if I inspect this, we should have the version also be the label. Yep. So we'd be able to do this as like an option group when this comes through. So yeah, so this would get us at least group by core compatibility, but not the top modules. But then we can take, for if we say like latest releases, we could take the first entry from each compatibility group. At least that would be my idea. So let's make organized releases. If you're ever curious like why I look down like this, I don't know how to do home row. I hunt and peck, but by memory. So if I'm ever like all of a sudden I like lose my placing, I know I could feel the little nubs on F and J, but I hunt and peck. So sometimes I have to look and reset my bearings. This is taking a while. I'm going to click stop. And play. Let's do a return. Just so that way it does return a value so it doesn't throw an error. I'm going to start to assert. So self assert. Oh. All right. So for each release. Oh, exception. Cannot use object type. Ah, I forgot. It is an object. Way to go, me. Let's first do assert. Array has key. So there should be like an 8.x key and organized. Actually, we'll go top down. So there should be a 7x. And then there should be the good old 8.8 9, which this is not readable to a non-Drupal developer, but it is also a start. So that could be it too. It's like, hey, maybe this is too hard, but at least this is somewhat logical for people who want to sort through them. And the idea is that based on sorting by, we would need to sort what we want for that to be higher by. I also want to see if the semver library has some kind of sorting in it. All right, so let's go ahead and that should be fixed if I hit play. So we have our core compatibilities. So it's nice right now that 8.8 and 9 compatibility is first, but if there was a hotfix release for 7.x, that would bump it first because that has a newer release. So we can't trust this technically. But what we can trust is that so maybe actually, you know what we need to do is I'm going to stop this and let's get the dev releases. Let's call it branches. So for each, I want to pluck out the branches first. So for each releases as release, maybe we don't need to run through this twice actually. So let's do a breakpoint. Look back at the semver. So version parser. Oh, sort. So here we go. So we can sort release. Great. So we could sort releases this way. So let's look at this release. Is this a dev release? Perfect. So version tag. So if release, one sec, I want to see. So test semver parse sort. So we can sort the versions, but that's not helping out entirely. Or maybe we can. So fields, execute, fetch all. So we do, what if we did fetch all assoc, and we keyed it by the release, which will break the JavaScript implementation because then it becomes an object instead of an array. But let's just start here. So let's check. Let's fetch all associative by the version. So let's do test array keys. You got an idea here. Releases. This might not bear any fruit, but let's see. Semver sort test 1. So my idea would be we get all of the versions as keys, and then we just sort them, and we can use that sorted array to pluck things out. Maybe. What's on the semver library version parser? So okay, that's the next part to do is, so test 1, we have all the array keys. Great. And exception invalid version string dash dev. Great. Right. So tag. Oh, maybe it's because we need to have the tag. Because the tag doesn't have that on there. No, I don't want to edit that. I want to tag. So let's try the tag. And hope for the best. Surprised this didn't crash here. I guess I'm lucky. So releases, we've got this. So let's exception. Now we'll see invalid version string 8.x 1.x. All right. Yeah. I forgot that in order to do this, I need to pop off the legacy branch names in order to sort this. Shoot. Yeah, I went down this road before and I completely forgot. So let's do... Let's skip this. We'll try that. No, wait, we could do that after. Wait. Well, hold on. I'm going to revert this to just fetch all. I'm going to back out of here for now and just go back 2. So if string position, it's the haystack, is release. I need to learn to just keep this open. So version. So if the release version has dev in it, so if it's not equal to false, branches will append the release and do a continue. Organized releases. So we'll say organized releases is an array. Oh, we already have it as an array. We'll say we'll delete this. Or I guess we don't even need to define it. We can say branches are branches. No. So say organized releases. Or so for each, I don't know, for each core compatibilities as core compatibility releases. So organized releases, we will do compatibility equals releases. We'll say organized releases branches equals branches, and organized releases latest equals blah, and eventually we'll pluck out the last releases for each. Oh, each say items. There we go. All right, it's not perfect, but we could do some for valid, but we've got to pop all them up. I remember earlier I went through a whole bunch of this. Like one thing I was able to do is like at least do run satisfies. Let's see, where else do I use it in here? So just satisfies. All right, because I had to pop off all of the main branches, or the core compatibility prefix. So we could do we would have to do like an array map, but I'm worried about losing the original values is my main concern. And actually with path auto is a good example because it has a 7.x 1.x branch and it has an 8.x 1.x branch too. So it's technically has the same major version on it. So I'm just gonna try, let's run this again. Let's see where we end up. We should have the branches and and then the top versions in the compatibility, unless I cause an error. I feel like when it takes this long, that usually means there's an error. Okay, so we've got, let's just step through to here. So organized releases, we would have latest is empty, branches, and then we would have the 8.8, 8.x, 7.x. The worst part is that even here, creating this array makes it unworkable for JavaScript, but we can parse it in the controller to make it easier for PHP code. So what I think the hard part here is, why would we show, oh shoot, actually, wait, what? One second. So I did a continue. So wait, even though I did in the same for each, if dev is not equal to false, pop it under the branches and do continue. but it still ended up in the core compatibility for 8.x. And it's what? Nothing filtered out. Oh, what? Oh, wait a second. Hold. I broke something in the organized releases. That's why. Because I did. Dang it. There we go. Sorry. Lost my mind there because I forgot I was releases was the value from is the raw releases. So I actually just put a breakpoint at the bottom. So the debugger, let's look at the organized releases now. Okay, so 7.x, 1.3, 1.2, path auto, yep, 1.3. So we could pluck out the first version. 8.x is 1.6. And then the 1.8. So to me, it feels like we need to have more about the core compatibility, which is only available on the current. So let's see. Let's read this a little bit. Core compatibility is here. We would need, yeah, and they're not the same. So here now it goes to 8.x. We'll just have to, I don't know. We'll just try this out. So for each core compatibility as items, we'll just do organized releases, latest. We'll append items 0 and unset items 0. Like my grand idea might not be workable, but this is at least somewhat better. It's somewhat better. Because you know what are the latest releases, except for the whole core 8.x and then the compatibility, which maybe we just add something in here that detects if it's got the but what if it's like Drupal 9 only? Well, we'll figure it out. So organized releases, latest 1.8, 1.6, 1.3. We've got our dev branches, and then we've got the secondary or other releases inside core compatibility. I can be somewhat happy with this for now. So let's try and make it smarter. So let's see. If is set compatibility. What did I do in the core? I think I have an idea here. So semver get with compatibility satisfies row version constraint. So say is d9 equals semver satisfies. Oh wait, is it satisfies? Yeah, so satisfies so we can take 9.x and the compatibility is d8 equals semver satisfies 8.x compatibility is d7. Maybe this is just a better approach, is we just have a list of supported core major versions, which I feel like we somewhere, maybe I didn't make it a constant. I thought I did, but I did not. So instead of storing it by compatibility, we could do so core compatibilities. Why don't we just make it be I don't know. Do 7, 8, 9. Let's just even do 10 to start. Or that's okay. So let's see, we can do for each core compatibilities as major version. So this is do for each array key as major version if semver satisfies the major version from the compatibility core compatibilities major version, we append the current release. I think that can replace this whole line right here. Let's test it out. So we can have a bit more of a hard-coded list, so we could have the latest and then list down. And this should prevent the problems with a like Path Auto, how it has when it was the old school 8.x that only supported up to 8.7 and then bumped to 8.8 and 9, hopefully. So core compatibilities, major version is 7, which is interesting. Doing array keys casted it to an integer automatically from a string. Compatibility. Realize I'm not even checking to see what gets added. So Drupal 9, that's getting added there. Let's just play through. Turn off that breakpoint. Okay, did this error or is it just thinking? Like for this, we should reverse the order. Hit stop. And try here. Because it's like, this is kind of a lie because it could go into both 9 and 8. But I guess it'd be appending it to both, I think. Because this release is going to be available for 8.8 and 9. And we're checking 9, and then it's going to end up in the 8 version too. So this idea doesn't work. Just going to plot through a bunch of this. Ah, dang, I just skipped right through that. Or is this now what's causing a problem? Yep, that's what's causing an error because this structure changed. I feel like there just isn't a really good way to pluck out the latest releases for projects that have the old school versioning. So items is empty. So core compatibilities. Oh yeah, that's empty. Undefined offset 0. So let's do Let's run an array filter on it. Or I guess we would just do for each array filter right in here. But so compatibility 9, we drop that. Items. So let's see what we ended up with. Latest. Yeah, we still ended up with 1.6 and 1.8 because it's being grouped into 8 and 7. Man, because there's no way to say that. Because that's going to look weird to an end user when we're like, oh, hey, here's the latest releases. And you're going to see 2 path auto releases. But in my opinion, we should just be dropping anything that's old. Especially that old. But, shoot. Thing is, I know this is not going to be the only project that has this problem. So we have 9, 8. .7. I guess I'm honestly kind of surprised that the release. Oh, wait. Yeah. I'm surprised the release didn't pass the 8.x in both and the 9.x because it says 8 or 9. Shoot. I'm not sure what to do. So we don't have any good way. The only thing is we would have to at least, we could try to, dang. I guess in the latest releases, we could show the core compatibility. The problem is, like in every case, there should usually be something that makes it obvious that there's a difference, right? This is 7.x 1.3. This is 8.x 1.3. It could be major version 1, 2, 3, etc. This is just confusing because it has 8.x 1.x. So these are both major versions, and the end user has no idea like why these are different. Unless we appended the version constraint. So here we go. All right, I got an idea. So we picked the latest releases. All right. Latest release equals this item. I think I have an idea here on what we can do. It might be a bit technical still, but it's still a better experience. That's exactly what I was about to do, is put the compatibility at the end of it all. With a twist. So first, what I need to do is also get the decoupled router code in here because that has semantic versioning, or I'm guessing there's probably a few more that do. But yeah, the idea is to pop the compatibility constraint off and append it at the end, since we can't trust all that. So, what is it? major version, compatibility, core compatibility, version. So again, we're going to do a string position check for the latest release version, and the needle is .x0. And I'm pretty sure we have that throughout the code in a few places. Yeah, project version manager. Like, oh wait, that's where we are right now. And the fetcher, yeah, we've got, I think this is about as standard as we can get. So if this is not equal to false, we'll do sorry, my brain just froze up. One thing I was at least going to do is have, oh wait, I gotta be careful there. One second, I need to see what we pass over, because I could just as easily be breaking the importer. Oh, this is a mess too. Components, version selector dot version. All right, so we got to be careful to not modify the. We pass over the version, the version label. So if I were to add that, if I added that here, it would break. So I wonder if it's actually more of a front end thing to add that display. I think what we need to do is just have the front end append the compatibility constraint in parentheses at the end of it. I think that would be the best approach, because we can't modify the version here because it would break the front end. Let's get this tested, and I'm actually going to get the front end loaded up now with this. All right, so we've got that. This test will fail. Let's remove this line. I don't need to do much debugging now, but we should have actually self assert array has key. Thank you, PHP autocomplete. So it should have latest and organized branches. 9, 8, and not ampersand, and 7. While that runs, let's get Docker opened. All right, so that passed. So let's do self assert count. Latest to do. Why did it double append? So to do, we have 3 due to core compatibility, aka majors. Because really, once modules drop support for 8.7, that should have been like a new major version, in my opinion. If we had semantic versioning, or maybe not a new, but new minor version, maybe something like, we would have some other way to be able to tell this apart in that case. But we know this should only have 2 branches. So organized branches, and I'm not even gonna, sure. Self assert count. We know this should have 1 left in it for 9. Let's just hit play. All right, that's running. Let's get. Oop. Oh, it froze. There we go. Ddev start. Syntax error. Oh, yeah, because everything locked up. So go there. Let's see. Let's look back at the React code. Lib components. Version selector. So if there's no core constraint, we go to project versions. And we set that as the versions list. That's for if it's like an additional project. So what I'm thinking is, oh, this is going to be a... We're going to have to update this code to handle option groups. So that'll be the next big step too. All right. So let's go to simply test ddev.site. It's loading. All right. So the next step is let's go. I don't even remember what the URL is for this. So let's go look at the routes. Or duh, it's right here. I think it's project, short name, and versions. So we'll do path auto and versions. All right, so we've got this grouping now, and it comes in a list object. So let's go ahead and update that code to project versions, get all releases. So we have, that's the response. And then we'll do versions equals this project version manager, organize and sort releases. We have our cache. But let's see if okay, good. I have everything turned off. So, one thing this is going to be impossible to parse in. Why are these array keys? Oh, shoot, because so we need to fix this because these are all treated as, they're all treated as objects. We're down here, we at least have releases that is an array. So let's figure out what's going on there. So we unset the compatibility items. Here's one thing. We do array values. Because when you unset, you don't actually rekey the array. So that means the first item has a key of 1. So when it's encoded to JSON, that's treated as a string or like an associated array. So let's do array values. Okay, so that fixed it here. So we've got 7, 8, 9. So now it's, I still don't like that a list is an object because it makes it harder to iterate over. but I don't know if it's worth the complexity to deal with that. All right, I want to try to think here for a second. So we have branches. We have latest. And then we have the core versions just kind of hanging out on their own, which is sorting them by 7, 8, 9. So maybe I think what we need to do, if we change this to be, all right, let's try something. We'll say label 10. Constraint is 10.x. Versions. Label Drupal 9. Constraint 9.x. Again, some of this might be, it's messy, but I'd rather go for messy up front and optimize later when things are more clear and make sense. So that's always a good thing to do, is if something's like, oh, I feel like I could optimize this, optimize it after you get it working and you have clarity with other parts. Otherwise you're just gonna not hurt yourself in the end, but you're going to just, set yourself up for extra work that might not make sense. So array keys, we don't want array keys. So for each core compatibilities as major version satisfies major version constraint as key. So we want to take key and versions. Core compatibilities, array filter. Well, that array filter won't necessarily work. Just see if this, invalid string 10.x. Oh, oh, shoot. Yep, let's fix this. Invalid version string 10. Oh, because what? Why is 10.x an invalid version string? Didn't I have it before? 1 second. Local history, show history. What did I do stupid? What did I do wrong? So that's pretty cool. It shows you your local history from when the test last passed. So if you messed up, you can go back to when your tests were green. So it's just 10, I guess. Oh, duh, because this is supposed to be the version number. So let's do so it worked when it was just 10. So there's that. Latest is null because latest, which core compatibility items, latest items. Versions. Copy that key. Let's refresh that. So branches. Okay, so we have our branches. We have our latest. And we need to organize this better. So core compatibility keys versions. So let's do organize releases, core, and we'll append that as an array. Delete the compatibility. Oh, there we go. Deleted the wrong thing. All right. So latest, we got a null, but that's because so if empty. Now I'm just getting kind of absurd with this. So if empty, continue. So it just skips it. All right, so list, we get latest at the top. Then we get branches. Then we get core and all the different core versions. But we want it to actually be items is a horrible name for this. So items versions equals array key. Let's refactor this items to be core data. Say core data. All right. So I think this is something that's workable. So we have list, latest, branches, core, and all the core options. Now my tests are broken. So let's go and fix the tests. Actually, it might only be broken right here. This would be cores, list, latest, core. Array has key 9. This should just be core. And that should have 3 items in it. And let's just leave it there. That's good enough for me for testing. Now we'll get to the JavaScript part of making this act like a array. And this is where I wish I had some functional or some unit tests in our JavaScript code. We do not yet. All right. So now this is going to freak out. Yep, s.map is not a function. So let's go to the version selector. One thing I realized we need to fix too, or update. So project version manager, or rather the controller, project versions, compatible versions. We need to get compatible releases. We need this to also be versions equals this, project version manager, organize and sort. Yeah. And that should work. So now both will have the same output. So set versions json.list. And what we need is we'll have an opt group. MDN select opt group, because I don't remember. Okay, so opt group, then we have label. So we'll have opt group, and the label will be latest, and we'll do versions dot latest. So that's what that sets it to. Versions is, oh, so we need to actually make this be, does this back out early if versions is empty? So if selected project is equal to null, or versions is equal to null. So we need to have 2 null checks. And if you don't put anything here, it just is actually undefined. And in JavaScript, null and undefined are two different things. So you have to be very explicit. If you use TypeScript, I'm pretty sure it catches all that for you. So versions.latest, that is an array. Correct? Yep. So that's where we can do we can just copy this. Version.latest.map. Branches. So let's copy this. And do branches. And now we'll do core. So this is where it gets even funnier. Funnier. Versions.core.map. So we're going to map the core and do an opt group. Label is core.label. Why is this complaining? Expected return. Oh, shoot. I didn't wrap it in parentheses to make it be a return. Why is this complaining? Okay. What did I did? Cut that. Return. Label equals core.label. All right, now everything's happy. No, it's not. Why? Oh, because of prettier, which didn't give me a chance to finish that. So now if we copy this into here, so it'd be core.versions. So core.versions. I think this should do it. So let's do a we got to go into the theme. I want to clean this up too. All the tooling needs to be fixed. Package.json. Let's just do a build. Let's wait for this to build. This takes a minute because it also builds the CSS for the site. And I need to get this, I want to get this migrated over to Laravel Mix instead of our own. Well, we use Laravel Mix, but then the CSS is still in its own build, and there's like some legacy gulp stuff. All right, wrong thing to hard refresh. Yeah, Laravel Mix has made life so easy. Wait, cannot read length of null. So you know what I need to do is not have this on, you have it on watch. And we have it set up with like develop that we could have browser sync. But all right. Oh, so and shoot. Select initial version. Start custom install via URL with parameters. Oh, man. So if not initial version and versions dot latest. Oh, as launching browser sync after all. All right. Latest dot length. localhost 3000. So if there's no initial version, and we have versions, and versions.latest has a length, we will pick the first one, and the hot reload is reloading the browser for me here. So let's do path auto. Woohoo! That's actually pretty cool. Let me just see if there's any errors that came afoot. Each child in list should have a unique key prop. Yeah, inversion selector with op group. You're right. So that would be, we can make that be the constraint. Let's see. Branches, core. Let's just make it the key. Let's make the label the key. Core.label, because we know that's unique. Now if we go to path auto again, so it picks the latest version, which is what I wanted. Now we need to get the oh, I forgot in the latest we want to append like the main constraint. Like what's the difference? We can see Drupal 9, Drupal 8, Drupal 7, and these are sorted by date, which makes them look in a good order. Perfect. So let's try to get, let's close the annotations. So version, what do we have? So in the version, we do have the core compatibility. So why don't we just add that to the label here? Only in latest, so we'll do version dot core compatibility, wrap that in parentheses. All right, let's see, moment of truth. Let's even pick password policy. Oh, encountered 2 children with the same key. 8.x 3.1 beta. Oh. Okay. So this is what I was afraid of, that somehow things would get duplicated. Yeah, because it has actually like the more loose ability. So we can fix that. That should be fixable. I was thinking it would happen with path auto, but it never did. So we can fix that. Path auto. Yeah, we should drop the stuff before the period. Let's see. Let's see if I can 8.x 1.8 trim. Nope. From yeah, it does look weird. That's why I want to drop it and just show the constraints at the end of it. From, let's do, all right, 8.x 1.8 index of 8 or .x 1 is 1. So if we did 8.x 1.8 substring, why? Oh, because I did from. Oh, because we need to do +3. Because we need the index of that plus the length of it itself. Delete the 1.8. So what did I have? Dot substring. I'm sure there's a better way to do this. Substring. Version dot index of. That's not right. Because that will be messing everything up. So let's go ahead and when I say messing everything up, semantic versioning won't have that in it. So I guess we could just make a function. Function clean version without core modifier. We'll call it version. So if version dot index of, let's see, const or wait, I guess it's predetermined because we know it's either 7.x. So if version dot index of the x0, we'll do return version, but if it's here, you want me to have that, so we would return version dot substring four, right? That would be 8.x 1.4 dot substring 4. Perfect. If you're curious, one reason I put it out of the component is I don't want this function to be recreated every time the component is re-rendered for performance reasons. So let's try this here. When it's out of the context and when most people are picking versions, however, okay, so this will fix the path auto. So this will fix path auto. Now I need to do a little bit of work for password policy when it has the duplicates. So path auto, there we go. I can dig this. I'm going to take a screenshot so I can upload that to the issue. Now let's go to password policy. In this one, we're getting the dupes because of the looser core compatibility. Let's do ddev xdebug to turn on xdebug. Oh, let's turn off the watch for now. Xdebug's enabled. Turn this on. That's one bummer with using fixtures locally, as you're not using live data as easily, but it is what it is. So latest, so what we need to do is be smarter about picking the latest version. So let's this. So we have organized releases latest. We have this here. So the easiest check would be handle when a version supports multiple core versions, multiple major versions of Drupal core by checking if it has been added yet. So my initial idea was just to say if the latest key, well, we don't know the keys. I guess we would have to we could iterate through it. It feels messy. I don't like it, but I don't know a better way to do it. So my initial idea was saying we don't know how many keys are in releases, but check like the last entered release. If the last entered release was it, then just be done. But I guess we'll just do for each organized releases, latest as latest releases. So let's move. Oh, we can't move this down either until we reset this possibly. Got to be a better way. There is. So one thing we could do is array unique, but I don't think array unique works well when you have objects. Compare items as string, don't change types, remove duplicate values from an array. So we would have to write our own filter. Remove any, even then, PHP array unique objects. Let's see. Array unique for objects, not for objects. Make an array of objects unique by comparing a property. So I guess that could be it. Array unique models, array map, array values intersect. Yeah, I don't want to do that, but I guess that's about all you can do. Because like I said, when you do so models, array unique, because it's doing it on a property. Compare string values of an argument. So make sure you implement toString in your class. Well, that's one way to do it. Array merge. What? If not in array, no. Serialize? No. So I don't want to serialize them. Let's see, where'd my... Oh, I went all the way back. Okay. Due to the fact some versions may support multiple core majors, we could have duplicate latest releases. We filter out non-unique releases here. So latest versions equals array map, static function, cd class, version, return version string, not version to version. Organized releases, latest versions equals array unique, latest versions. Let's see, what was that? It was like array intersect key. Yeah. So latest versions equals array values, array intersect key. then the original, yeah. So it'd be the organized releases latest against the latest versions. Something like that. Let's see. Let's refresh the page. Let Xdebug do its thing. All right, so latest versions. We have our string. It's unique. We only have the 2. So like I was saying before, how it preserves the keys on an unset. So we have 0 and 2. And now we have latest versions is rekeyed. Array filter. So I thought about, yeah, so like array filter with a callback is probably almost nearly the same as doing like the array intersect. And that's what I was wondering if we could do array intersect key. Wait a second, ukey. Hold on. So ukey means there's a user function. Compute the intersection of arrays using a callback function. But that doesn't necessarily allow me to exclude something, I don't think. I'm gonna take this as it is because it works. So we'll say organized releases latest is here. Stop, refresh. Organized releases latest. It works. It's just, I'm going to take it. Play. Turn off the listener. Let's refresh this. Oh, yeah, I killed it. Run. Let's just run. I'm just going to run a full build really quick. So I'll run a full build, verify that this handles, or that we don't no longer get a duplicate and a crash like what happened earlier. Oh, I forgot to say that this was be closed by, I didn't make a pull request for this? Oh. One second. What? All right. That's for a different problem. All right, so let's refresh this page. And oh shoot, it's already 11. All right, this has got to be it. And then I need to get onto my client work. All right, there we go. That looks good to me. Let's make the commit message. So let's do not the main repo, or not the website repo. I'm just going to go through my diffs. Yep, that's expected. A version manager. Yep, we don't need the test there. Order by descending. I think this is about as good as that could ever get. Tests, we created the trait, kernel test for this. And there, so create an opt group format for releases. All right, I think that's a way more usable for folks that want to use Simply Test. And the good news is, so let me push that. So if we inspect this, so we have this nice grouping and an opt group, and we still have all the appropriate versions available. That's funny. So it didn't put anything underneath Drupal 9 because it supports both. That's whatever. We can figure that out. when time comes. I think this is a good improvement. You know, it's one of like, how do we munge that together? But it's a pretty good improvement. So let's click open merge request. I'm going to refresh the page just in case. All right, so mergeable, let's make new needs work, needs review. This provides an improved releases listing that groups versions and makes users aware of the latest releases and dev branches while making previous ones supplemental. Some people might need to test older versions, but more often than not, they don't need to. So let's click embed for the one. I think this is the other. 1125. 1125. Yep. Save that. And I'll come back to figuring this out. Because I swear I made the work, but I don't know what I did with the code. All right, cool. I'm off to do some client work. So thanks for tuning in, and have a good start to the week, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. And thank you for the subscription. That is very appreciated. All right. Catch everybody later. Bye.